With aspirations stifled by a suffocating silence, Sarah grapples with the weight of expectations and fears that thrumming doubt may drown her voice. Just when she begins to retreat into the shadows, an enigmatic figure emerges, offering a lifeline of gold in a sea of hardship. But is the promise of change worth the scrutiny that follows? In the heart of Liberty Falls, a small town that had seen better days, the once vibrant streets were now lined with crumbling brick buildings and faded storefronts. The proud blue and white sign announcing, "Welcome to Liberty Falls," hung crooked, mirroring the town's waning spirit. Yet amidst the hardship, the sweet scent of blooming wildflowers burst through the cracks in the pavement, hinting at the resilience of its residents. Sarah Johnson, a passionate teacher in her early 40s, navigated the echoing halls of Liberty Falls Middle School daily, her mind bursting with ideas and dreams. Despite her warm smile, her heart carried the weight of crippling student loans that threatened to suffocate her ambitions. Education can change lives, she'd often tell her classroom full of eager faces. Yet the grim walls around her felt oppressive, choking her optimism. James Bennett, the steadfast principal with a love for his students and faculty, stood by her side, urging her to rise above the challenges. He was the calm in her storm, encouraging her to voice her struggles rather than hide in the shadows of despair. Meanwhile, whispers of a charity gala began to swirl through the town, a glimmer of hope, perhaps, where change could be sparked, and her voice could carry beyond the classroom. The small town of Liberty Falls stretched out under a patchy, overcast sky, the soft gray light filtering through a tangled web of low-hanging branches. Dilapidated buildings adorned Main Street, some sporting hand-painted signs that promised hope, while others stood desolate, their once vibrant colors dulled by time. The air was thick with the scent of fresh rain mingling with the hint of chimney smoke, a familiar comfort amidst the town's growing anxieties. Sarah Johnson, a dedicated teacher, stood in her crowded classroom filled with eager faces, children brimming with potential yet hampered by the meager resources surrounding them. With each lesson, she often wished for supplies that she could barely afford. The local educational budget was thinning faster than the community's collective patience, leaving her feeling like an artist with no canvas. Then came the annual charity gala, an opportunity that gave her courage, a platform to voice the struggles educators faced in Liberty Falls. As she stood nervously at the podium, her heart raced while she spoke passionately about her dreams of reform. Yet when she glanced at the audience, she noticed disapproving frowns, the whisper of skepticism lunging at her. Maybe some believe teachers should simply be grateful, she thought, feeling the weight of doubt settle in her chest. That moment sparked a flicker of turmoil within her, amplifying the urgent need for change, yet underscoring the reality of her lonely battle. The night air was heavier than ever as Sarah Johnson stood outside the community center, her heart battling between a sense of hope and an unsettling dread. The gala had not only failed to achieve the intended support, but had escalated into a battleground of ideals. The conservative faction had erupted during her heartfelt plea, ridiculing her as they whispered among themselves, "Why can't she just accept her job?" While they scoffed at her desire for a better system, she felt her spirit wane. "Sarah, don't let them get to you," James Bennett said, stepping closer, his voice low yet firm. "You did what you felt was right. Stick to your guns." "But what if they're right?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible, punctuated by a tremor of frustration. "I feel like I'm asking for too much. What if I'm just dreaming?" James shook his head, the hope in his eyes unwavering. "Change comes from courage, but you have to believe in yourself first." As they stood at the edge of the gala's lively chatter, she couldn't help but feel the chasm widening between her dreams and the community's expectations. The applause for the night's celebrity guests filled the hall, leading Sarah to question, is their success not built on the backs of those like us? Just then, a group of men from the conservative faction ambled past, their sneers cutting through her self-doubt. "Teachers need to stop whining and get back to teaching. It's not our fault they chose this profession," one of them scoffed loudly, locking eyes with her, making her stomach twist. "See? This is what we're up against," she murmured bitterly to James. Yet deep within, The desire for change ignited a flicker of defiance. "I won't back down, James. I can't," Sarah declared, her voice stronger now, even as the dead weight of uncertainty clung to her. But the question remains, can this town ever embrace a voice for the unheard? As Sarah stepped out of the gala, the biting wind of Liberty Falls bit at her cheeks, a sharp reminder of the chill she felt inside. The raucous laughter and empty platitudes of the attendees echoed in her mind, drowning her hopes in a sea of doubt. "What was I thinking?" she murmured to herself, her hands curling into fists. James's voice cut through the haze of her thoughts. "Don't let them get to you, Sarah," he insisted, his gaze steady. "They don't understand what it costs to teach here." "But they should," Sarah snapped, frustration stark in her voice. "I laid everything bare, and for what? A round of patronizing applause?" James shook his head, his expression a mixture of concern and encouragement. "You opened a door. Not everyone will walk through it right away." Yet each critical comment from the crowd gnawed at her resolve. The whispers she had overheard, "Just a teacher. Why can't she be grateful?" stung like barbs, turning her passion into despair. Just then, a figure approached, unmistakable even against the night's shadows. Donald Trump. Her heart raced. Here was the whirlwind of controversy itself. "Sarah, your courage was admirable," he said, his voice steady, yet magnified by his presence. "I want to help." She felt a spark ignite, but fear wrapped around it like a vice. "Do you mean—" "I'll pay off your student debt at the next fundraiser," he declared. Gasps erupted from nearby attendees and ambivalence washed over her. Was it a bribe for silence or a bridge toward a reform she desperately sought? The question loomed, thick with unspoken tension. "But what about the others?" she asked, her voice quivering. Donald's smile flickered, revealing a sudden weight in their exchange. "Change starts with one, Sarah." And just like that, she was left at a precipice, with new possibilities hanging in the air, yet uncertainty clung tighter around her. How could she harness this unexpected gift? And at what cost? The room was charged with anticipation as Sarah stood at the podium, microphone poised before her. The arched hall of the community center pulsated with the rustling of enthusiastic supporters and the murmurs of skeptics. Behind her, Donald Trump basked in the spotlight, the declaration of paying off her student loans still ringing in the air like a trumpet of destiny. She felt her heart race, the echoes of the gala still fresh. "Thank you for your support," she began, her voice steady despite the thunder in her chest. "I never thought my voice could represent the struggles we face as educators in Liberty Falls." She breathed deep, glancing at Trump. A glimmer of encouragement flashed in his eyes. "But we are not simply here for handouts or accolades. We demand change." A middle-aged man in the crowd interrupted. "You should be grateful, Sarah. Don't bite the hand that feeds you." His voice sliced through the air, igniting a wave of murmurs. Sarah's cheeks flushed, but behind the embarrassment, a fire ignited. "No, sir," she replied sharply, emboldened. "Our worth is not defined by charity alone. It's about our voices being heard in the halls of power. Teachers are the backbone of this community. We deserve better." The energy shifted, her conviction galvanizing a younger audience member who shouted, "We're with you, Sarah." The intensity surged, unveiling the chasm of misunderstanding. Trump leaned in, nodding, while the crowd erupted with a mix of applause and dissent. Clarity flooded through her. This was bigger than her loans or her worries. This was about every student who deserved a chance, every teacher who walked into underfunded classrooms daily. "Let's be clear, systemic issues won't vanish with my debts paid. We need real reform, honest funding, and respect for our educators," she declared, her voice reverberating with passion. It felt as if she was no longer just that overwhelmed teacher, but a fierce advocate, standing against ignorance with newfound clarity. As the crowd oscillated between cheers and resounding discontent, Sarah realized she had stepped into her own power. A turning point. The battle between gratitude and the quest for change forged her resolve in that moment, firing a beacon of hope across the room, a message resounding louder than any singular act of generosity could convey. In the aftermath of her debt being cleared, Sarah stands at the forefront of educational reform in Liberty Falls. With newfound clarity and confidence, she becomes a beacon of hope, spearheading initiatives to garner resources for her school and mentor younger teachers grappling with similar struggles. The community, once divided, begins to unite under her leadership, championing the value of education and viewing teachers not as silent figures, but as vital voices needing support. As Sarah addresses the gathering at the next town hall meeting, she looks out at faces that once held skepticism. Change begins with empathy, she says, her voice steady. It's time we understand the deep-rooted challenges our educators face. The crowd erupts in applause, a clear signal of their shift in perspective. In this transformation, Sarah realizes that while Goliaths may come in many forms, together they can dismantle barriers, proving that empathy can indeed pave the path to progress, filling Liberty Falls with renewed hope and resilience.